Welcome to Sunday Conversations. We've been having these matters about thanking God and Thanksgiving, and we had a gentleman on that was called the Walking Man, who's having for the veterans, was having that at the amphitheater on the 8th of December. That's a week from Friday. And so anyway, but today we're going to talk about how we can deal with everything that people do, especially those who are in need of a home. And Melinda, we have you first, Everson, and you're the executive director and of the St. John's part of the Habitat for Humanity. And then I've got Tom Toretta, who is a developer of that development side, an officer, whatever it's called. It's got some name besides that, but it's whatever it is that you have to pick up and do anyway. So anyway, it's all that. So Melinda, we're going to be talking a little bit about you and how you got here. And Tom was here over a year ago when he was with the another organization, and now he's there and. He's helping in another area. So that's really good, too. So we'll get into that as we get in. But as you remember, we did some verses, and I asked you to send me some verses. So James is the one that we start with, and then we'll do that one verse in Matthew. But I added to the last of 27, which was the one more after the one you had given. So there we go. That way we'll get into it. So if you go to James 1, 22 to 27, you'll see this. Do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like a man who looks at his face in a mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. But the man who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues to do this, not forgetting what he has heard, but doing it, he will be blessed in what he does. If anyone considers himself religious and yet does not keep a tight rein on his tongue, he deceives himself, and his religion is worthless. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. So we finish that side, and we'll come back to that and talk about it in just a couple moments or so after we've talked a little bit about you all. Next, the final one is Matthew 5:16, and since this comes from the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew, it's one of the verses that we've done before, and you'll see how it fits in with where we are today. And this is Matthew 5:16. In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven. So, Melinda, let's talk a little bit about why you're here in St. Augustine and what was in your life before that, including when you were living in Flint, Michigan.
So I was born and raised in Michigan, and as an adult, I did a couple of different things, including sold real estate, and then I got my builder's license. I was doing some work with my dad, and my children were in school, and it was just by chance that I took the job at Habitat for Humanity, but I really fell in love with the mission of helping others.
It was a county of something in Flint.
Genesee County.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where General Motors was once very busy and thriving, and that's changed a lot. So it's left a lot of people in poverty there. So I started this position, just doing this and that at Habitat, and I went to my first dedication and really learned what they were about and all the people that came together to help people in need.
Right.
And that's what I really loved about this. And then I grew in that position. I was at that Habitat for Humanity for 4 years. I was the executive director there. And then I met my husband, who's from Florida, and then we were deciding where we're going to live. Flint, Michigan, St. Augustine, Florida. So
St. Augustine
Florida
won.
Yeah.
Yeah, some winters in Flint are not very, very warm.
Pretty harsh. Yeah, I grew up with that. And
Yeah.
so I was very happy to be living
Yeah,
down
as
here.
I mentioned to you outside that my grandparents on my father's side were from Brown City, Michigan. And my mother was from New Jersey, but they met in St. Petersburg during World War II. And so I was born at the end of the war. And the very end, I mean, they were hopeful that I would get out of the womb before they would have to go to another hospital. But the hospital that I had was on what is now runway number 9 at the Tampa International Airport.
Wow.
And I have actually flown an airplane that I own onto my own birthplace.
That's pretty neat.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, many times actually. So.
Wow.
So anyway, so you then came to Florida, and what did you do initially when you came to Florida? What were you doing between that and where you are now? Because I think you've been 6 years now with the Habitat of Humanity.
Right, 6, almost 7. So it took a while. I was really hopeful that I'd jump right back into being a Habitat, and those positions were filled, and everybody was pretty happy there. So I worked in the nonprofit sector. I worked. When I first moved here, I did work in housing at St. John's Housing Partnership.
Okay.
And then I worked at Betty Griffin for a while. And then this position opened. And
well, good. So you've known quite a few people here in our community that are in the nonprofit areas.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had several of them on the air as well, including the Alpha and Omega Miracle Home and some others. And
they all do great work.
They do. We've been very blessed here in St. Augustine to have as many as we have, and yet there's still needs for more people to be involved.
For sure.
So anyway, I'm going to shift a little bit over to you, Tom, to kind of figure out how you're doing now in a different location than you were before, and you're still a program director or developer, I guess it is, a development person. And tell me what you're doing now with the Habitat of Humanity.
All right. So at Habitat for Humanity of St. Augustine and St. Johns County, I'm the development director, and I'm helping with all the fundraising and also just awareness of what it is we're doing in the community, and that we don't give homes away for free, and, breaking the myths of what we do at Habitat for Humanity here in St. Johns County.
Well, we know that one of the president's he's now a widower,
Right.
but that she passed away this just a week ago, and they've just had the services both in Atlanta and in the Peanut Country, and so but they loved what Habitat did. In fact, even when President Carter was even old and hard to do stuff, he still hit the nails.
He did.
He did. He stayed all the way through. He was a great example of helping others.
They have been one of our greatest advocates and shining a light on Habitat's mission. President Carter, they have a President Carter Work Project every year. It's a big event, and they pick a different city. And they were in Canada when it was incredibly hot that summer.
Really?
And he went out there. He would go out and hammer nails. He's in his 90s.
Yeah.
Hammering nails, and he had a heat stroke, and he was back out there the next day.
Wow. Yeah. No, he cared about what he was doing.
Great humanitarians, both of them.
Yeah, he did. He was probably, the people that have looked back at it find him to be the greatest of the ex-presidents because he has done so much for all over the world, and including in the Carter Center in Atlanta and all of that. People had different views as he was president,
Right.
but that's the way life works.
Right,
That's the way
exactly.
life works. He was there for a reason, and that reason carried on. He's over 100 years old now, and so it's I think he's right at 100, and so that's kind of where he's going. So yeah, I've had a chance to be with him at least a couple times. So
Oh, wow.
so anyway, long time ago. So it's a different period. So tell me a little bit, Melinda, of how this is going right now in St. Augustine. I saw you got some other village kind of place that's about to be opened and stuff with more houses in it. Talk us and let the public know what's going on that you're doing in this area.
So really exciting times at Habitat. We have made some changes internally where we will be building a lot more houses. The need is so great. With 6 years ago, the chamber did a study, and I think the average cost of a house was $274,000 ish.
Yeah.
Now it's double that. We were in crisis mode 5 years ago when they did that study, and now it's just so out of reach for so many of the working people in this community and people who serve our community, teachers, police officers, firefighters, nurses.
Sure.
They can't afford to live here. And it won't be long before we have a crisis for drawing those employees. They're going to go live in a community where they don't have to commute for an hour. They want to be with their families like everybody else does. So that's where we come in. We are serving that population as well. We serve the 30 to the 80% of the area median income. That's a pretty wide range.
So what's the area that you're within?
So are you talking about where we're building?
For wherever a person who needed
St.
help,
Johns County, yeah.
what area does that? I know the name of yours is in St. Johns County. So
Yes.
So tell me where you go.
Most Habitat affiliates are county by county. We have been in operation here for 30 years. We have built 3 neighborhood developments, and we are embarking upon our 4th, Volusia Woods, 36 homes. That is underway right now. I don't know if you ever drive up and down Volusia, but you can see Canopy Oaks, which is our latest development, and then Volusia Woods. There, we've leveled everything, and we're getting ready to pour the pads probably January, February for the first 9 homes in that development.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I know you can't wait to have the people be able to be in it. So they're waiting.
These families are desperate. They really are. There's people who are homeless. There's people who's, they just can't afford what they really need to afford because they're so heavy on what they're paying for housing.
Yeah, no, it's the rentals have gone way up, and you really can't do it. I told you that today, we're on Sunday when you see this, but today happens to be the 30th of November that we're here, sitting here. But on today, I told you that my oldest son is getting his first house, and he'll be in it today in a brand new home, and he's never had one before.
That's exciting.
So yeah, so it's
congratulations to your son.
Yeah, me too. It's really great for them, and it shows that what God can do. That's what it does. So tell me, Tom, as you're now going into the development side and for the Habitat of Humanity, tell me what you've been doing and where that's going, and when you're having the next fundraiser and things like that.
So, well, I recently started at Habitat in July full time, and it's been an experience. Just a lot of drinking through the fire hose, as they say, trying to catch up on all the things that go on, because I didn't realize all the things that Habitat does for the community, and I also didn't realize how crazy things are for people just to be able to afford a home. So I'm happy to say at the current moment, we don't do events to do fundraising. We reach out to donors, and we reach out to prospective donors, and we talk to people about our mission and how we do things and how they can help. And we offer them the opportunity to do so. And most people jump on board because what we're doing is very important. The stability, I just want to talk about the stability that someone gets when they move from a rental where the rents are constantly going up and they have kids to feed and they've got work to go to. And every time they get a raise, the landlord's like, oh, good, well, now I'll raise your rent. And so a lot of times people cannot afford to even have rentals anymore. So the stability that owning a home that Habitat builds is incredible because the mortgages are lower and they own the home and they get to decide what colors they paint the kids' rooms, and they get to decide what colors they paint the kitchen and how they're going to lay out in the backyard and arrange the backyard and all that kind of stuff. So it lets them focus more on their career and more on going back to school possibly, and more about the kids in school. And now they're going to be in this school instead of popping around from school to school. And so homeownership just opens the door for a lot of these people that they'd have no opportunity to do beforehand.
All right. Well, Melinda, I know that you have a website. The one that I saw was called HABITATSTJOHNS.org.
That's correct.
which I consider to be habitatstjohns.org.
That is correct.
So as long as I'm right on that, and that the letters themselves do have a meaning, can somebody go on the website and find out what they can do and what you're doing, and if they wanted to volunteer, tell me about that as to how they could help in ways that you could use some help of volunteers, especially contractors and people that are painters and all the other things that go in.
So our volunteering will start up again after the new year when we have the pads poured and we're ready to actually build the houses. Right now, we are just doing the infrastructure at Volusia Woods. But you can go on the site and check that out every so often. But there's a lot of other ways to support us. Of course, you can make a donation. We also have this cool Cars for Home program where you can donate an old car that you're not using anymore. Car, boat, motorcycle, snowmobile.
Snowmobile.
If you schlepped that down here,
You're not going to need it.
But we have this great program where we have Habitat International administers, and then we get the funds for that here locally. And that's been a great fundraiser for us as well.
Well, you make some fun about the snowmobile, because what we have in right next to us in Flagler County, we have the Princess Place, which is a very interesting park that they built the house for a very princess from Russia, but it's built as though it was up north. So if that was bad, if you could go all the way down to the Florida Keys, all the way to Key West, and you go to the Custom House, that it was built during the time when everybody was out of money and we had the Depression. And it looks like the snow will never come down and break in because they made it high enough so that the snow could come out. So there you go. So yeah, maybe the snowmobile will be helpful here.
Maybe somebody did.
That's right. Especially for the sand. That's right. So let's tie this in a little bit more to the verses that we just went over. What we have is that you just don't just read the word. You just can't just listen to the word. You have to do something. You have to have action. And I saw that on one of the things that impressed me was on the what you all are doing is putting God's love into action. Mm-hmm. And so obviously James, he always required that. Faith without works was not anything to him. And now you're saying, well, that's what we're concerned about, is that people who think that they know what they are, but if they're not doing something about it, then there is a problem. So tell me how that gets into the to the whole side of the Habitat for Humanity.
So this organization was started back in the 70s, and the gentleman who started it, he partnered with another gentleman, but they were very close with God, and they said, we have to help these people in this community. And there was a lot of prayer and a lot of community that came together through their churches.
What city was that? Do you remember?
That was Americus, Georgia. That's where Habitat was founded.
All right.
Clarence Jordan, Millard Fuller.
All right.
And they really did put their faith into action. And that was how the whole organization was started. And we have a lot of church partners, even still to this day, a lot of local church organizations that support us. They come out and do the work. They pray for us.
That's
it's fantastic. Great. Yeah, that's how the whole organization started.
All right. Well, that's good. So Tom, as we're getting into it as well, it says, but the man who looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom. Now, when we think of laws, we don't think it's freedom. We think it's a limitation.
That's right.
And yet, when God does a law, it gives us freedom. And that's very an interesting comment that James makes in here, because he knows that we can never be free without following what God has asked us to do. And now we're opening ourselves up for free time, because that's what he gave us, was freedom, liberty, and will. Those are the only three things he gave us. Everything else belongs to him. And now you have a chance to return it back to him on any time you want. So as we're looking at that, and and looking at where he says that he will be blessed in what he does. If anyone considers himself religious, however, and does not keep these tight rein on it, that his religion is worthless.
Right.
So why do you think he went that far?
Well, there's a saying from New York, talk is cheap. So, anyone can say anything they want, but by taking actions, you're actually affecting change or making something happen that your words are not going to make happen on their own.
Yeah.
So I think he knew that, and he was trying to make it very clear that you could say whatever it is you want, but if you're not doing, then it doesn't mean much.
and also loving your brothers and sisters.
Right. It's so important.
You can't just talk about that.
You got to do
You
it.
have to do it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's why I added the last verse as well, which is 27. And that's that religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphan and widows in distress,
Mm-hmm.
and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world.
Right.
So there is a way, there's a path, and you can choose which one you're going to be on. Mm-hmm. So tell me how that fits in, if it does, in what you've been thinking when you selected the verses that you did.
It ties back to our mission, seeking God's love, seeking to put God's love into action. Us as a community, how we love one another. And those verses to me spoke the same message.
They do. And James, if you read earlier in James, in the same chapter 1, he goes through so many other things that you just can't ignore. And for me, unfortunately for me, I remember a time, and I've said this, and I won't spend a lot of time on it because I've done it on other programs, but I was in a trial in Fort Lauderdale, and I had to, for the reasons that I've already said, I ended up, as I was going to bed, that I usually don't open a Bible and just go to a verse that's there. I usually look for something that I'm looking for. I open it up, and it's James. And it says, James, with faith without works. And I wanted that something. I would have been working all weekend, and I wanted something like a psalm. I didn't, and so, no, it was to read that. And the things that happened after that were so powerful to me that I'm not going to go over them again today. But at some point, if you want to give me a call, I'll tell you the rest of the story. But that's where James comes in. James already knows that God's going to never let you go too far. He's never going to take away the things that he knows you can't do. He's not going to do that. And that's the hardest belief, is that you have to believe that. Because, one of the stories that I remember from, I think it was somewhat of some pastor or somebody, a priest, that gave the story of the man that was in the back of the church, and he was always praying every day, and the pastor or priest heard him say that, I'd do anything for you, God. Just let me have that opportunity. So, of course, the pastor or priest came to him afterwards and said, we need to clean all of these pews that we have here, so people have newer and better, and we can put some pillows on them, but we need to get them painted first. So would you mind doing that? He said, okay, I told you what God's been saying to me, so yes, I'll do it. So after about the 9th or 10th, maybe even the 15th of the pews, he says, God, next time, can you give me an executive office? So there's a lot of ways to go in this, and so
Be more specific, maybe.
That's right.
Praying for specific things.
That's it. So that's kind of where we go. So, what are some of the things that are happening right now with the habitat besides what you're developing? You've already told me about that. What about what's going on internally and otherwise that this community should be aware of?
Growth. Yeah, we need the community's help, and Tom can also talk about that too. But
all right.
Growth, the need is so great. So we have a updated strategic plan. Our board did an updated strategic plan where it calls for in 5 years us to be building 30 houses a year to respond to the need. And while the need is even greater than that, we're a part of that solution. We're not the only solution, but we're really excited about that. We're gearing up for that growth right now.
Well, I saw you have a large group of people on your board that have some care about the Habitat for Humanity. I don't know that I knew them individually, but tell me a little bit about your board members.
Oh, they're fantastic. We're growing our board as well. As we have more work to do, we need more hands, more people getting busy with that. So we've just recently added, I think, 4 new board members. Some, we have some that are seasoned that have been there for a long time. We have business owners. We have somebody who works at the Flagler, which is now UF Health, I think. Wounded Warriors. We're trying to have that diversity as well. They're fantastic, though. Well,
that's great. And you just heard that you might have some more information that might be helpful on where you're going now with the Habitat of Humanity.
Right. And so one of the things that the strategic plan calls for is for every year from now until 2028, we want to add 5 more homes. So we're going to build, say, 8 homes this year, and we're going to build, or 9 homes this year, and then we're going to build 14 homes, and we're going to build 19 homes. And so if you do the math, we're going to run out of land very quickly. Mm-hmm. So we're really looking for a nice, large piece of land that we could hopefully build on for the next even 10 years. Would be great to have one area that we're developing a community in of Habitat people. So the goal is to find the right piece of land that we can have our future on for at least 5 to 10 years. Because if you're building 30 homes and you have a 4 or 5 acre piece of property, that's 36 homes. And so that's 1 year. And then you got to, and it takes 2 or 3 years to, get the permits and design the homes and the infrastructure, and all that takes so much time that we need to be thinking, where are we going next? So,
and bigger, if you're going to invest in the infrastructure, you really want to invest in a bigger way. Right now we're doing little neighborhoods, but yes, we're looking at doing something much bigger.
Yeah. I guess the only things that are going on here in this community right now is the traffic and the roads, and everybody that says, well, why did this happen to us? Sometimes are the people that have just moved in for about 2 weeks ago that asking this, well, why are we having all this stuff happening? And they forget that most of these developments took place more than 15 years ago, and that it was not even the current county commissioners involved. Right. It was other county commissioners, and unfortunately, they don't see it because they see, I can't drive down 16 anymore. It gets so crowded that there, and I can't get it when I'm over there off of 210. And I got all these problems. I got so many of these. Well, all of that was done a long time ago. Right. And I guess you have to be careful, because you don't want to have the farmers have to give up their lots yet, unless they're getting older and that they don't have heirs that are going to want to continue into the farming business. Mm-hmm. Because we've got a lot of land out in that area of Hastings and others that were there. And it's not far from here anymore. Nothing's far from here anymore. The farthest part is getting there. Not that it's far, right. but the traffic that does come in, because we found that this community of St. Johns County has so much to offer. Right. And it provides education, it provides historical, it provides a beach. I mean, if I were to try to pick some place that was there, I did.
Pretty good.
I did, by the way, and it was St. Augustine.
What's not to love here?
Yeah, that's right. No, that's the reason. It's such a beautiful location, and it's full of everything. And I think we're going to see more development in Palatka. Wailaka is going to be there. Green Cove Springs is already starting to have its changes, the new roadways going in. So I think that there's going to be a lot of potential places for Habitat, but it will cross over, if you're not careful, into some other counties. So do you have other people like in Clay County and Flagler County doing the same with Habitat?
Oh, yeah.
There are Habitat affiliates in both of those communities.
Have you ever thought about having a regional Habitat that kind of, because the county line is not where the county line should be for housing?
Yeah, there's a movement towards that, to consolidate resources and that kind of thing. I think it really has to happen though, like communities.
Right. It has to be.
Yeah. I think if you get, one
No.
very metro area where a smaller, more rural, that's a little more challenging. But yes, that is happening all over the country.
Well, although we have that right now in Hastings and here, so it's but we don't have a big city like Jacksonville
Right.
or that. So
to that point, sometimes when you think about, like, say, Jacksonville and St. Johns County and maybe some other counties coming together, the problem that you have is, I know, for example, like when someone says, "Oh, we need to go to Jacksonville to do something," and everyone goes, "Jack, I'm not going all the way to Jacksonville,"
exactly,
and
yeah.
so there's this odd sense of place where, I've lived other places before where if I went from New York to New Jersey, it was no big deal. You just went to New York,
right.
went to the other, it was
Right.
just the same thing. And so, but here it's like very much,
Well, I can tell you this:
delineated.
when we lived in Atlantic Beach, we never wanted to cross the what we called was the ditch,
Right.
And we never wanted to tell anybody that it was really much better to be here than where you were living,
Right.
And so we'd say, no, it's not something you'd want to do, yeah. And so we ended up, and as you saw, what happened in the entire Jacksonville, Duval County connections, that the beaches were eliminated from those terms. They were not part of it.
Right.
And so they kept their own cities in place of that because it was different and it was
Right.
across the ditch.
Right.
Across
Right.
the ditch. And so
and I think there's a lot of that. So I think as if you were running the organization out of a Jacksonville and trying to,
right, you can't do
it
that.
wouldn't work out well in St. Johns County or in Baker or Clay or any other county.
But what you might be able to do, and I'm not suggesting anything to you all because you've been doing this now since Flint, so I'm not going to get even there. But you would think that somehow that the landowners who are in both counties or in 3 and Flagler as well, they are willing to be in all those places, that there is a opportunity for them to get the benefit of giving land to these nonprofits. So,
There definitely is.
so that's all I was saying. So yeah, whatever it is, things, but again, we're all growing. We don't know where we're growing to, but it's still a lot of land here.
To your point, there are tax benefits to people donating land and that kind of thing. And we've also found there's a lot of hometown pride here, where people don't necessarily want to be affiliated with some of the bigger metro areas.
Sure, that's kind of what Tom was saying as well. Is that hey, let's just keep our small town together. Well, the small town is unfortunately becoming a bigger and bigger town.
Yes.
We have the largest amphitheater now in the United States that has the most money that has been coming in nationally over all the other amphitheaters. So we know that people are coming in. It's more music people, more things coming. So
Yet another great thing about our community.
Yeah, no, all of that's so fantastic, really. So it's really good.
I'd like to, if we could, jump back for a minute talking about when you were saying that people can donate land. So something that people don't realize is they can donate more than just money to help us if they want to donate. They can, if they have a mandatory IRA withdrawal that they're not going to use, they can donate that to us. If they want to leave us in their estate plans and just, if they have an insurance policy or if they have a 401k or an IRA, they can make us a beneficiary on that. And it costs them nothing now. And when they pass, we can get all or a part of that. They can decide that.
Right.
They can give gifts of stock, appreciated stock. So if the stock value's gone up and they're going to get hit really hard with taxes, they can donate that to a nonprofit like Habitat and then avoid the tax burden. So there's all these different ways that people can donate and help us that doesn't involve giving cash now.
That's right.
I think people need to know that, because nonprofits are all looking for help. And
yeah, and that's
there are more ways to
pretty
get
much
creative.
the same. That's pretty much the same of all the nonprofits are doing, because they say including even Mayo Clinic, who's looking for that as well, because we have so many things that we just don't have. I mean, if you look in your own house and you see all the things that you'll never use again, but you keep it as storage for some other time that you're going to and never do.
Right.
So that's kind of what happens if we are not handling our finances in a way that can make some benefit to others. Kind of like what I was talking about with my son, so that it works out to be able to be of help. And what what's it to me anymore in terms of this process? So,
and that's the question: is how much is enough? That's the question. Even I don't make a lot of money as a nonprofit person, but I think about all the time. It's like, how much money is enough? When do I have enough that I'm comfortable, and then I can give away and help other people? What is that number? Because I feel like a lot of people, that number is way higher than it needs to be, and they're not thinking real logically about what that number really is.
Yeah. Oftentimes time is more valuable to people than the money.
For sure.
And so the people that have time, just like President Carter did, you have the ability to volunteer to help. And so there's a way that you can still give all the way through, and all the nonprofits here in our community. There's a way to help. So that I've got a poem. We've got a bunch of time left, but I'm going to go into this. And this poem is called "I'm Jason to God." Have you ever been wondering why there are children who have no parents and it makes you cry? Do you ever think there are those who go their merry way while the child is tossed and thrown away? Even then, when all that's left is to take them in and give them rest and the bread of life. If you ignore someone you know, or even a stranger standing on the corner of fear, but never help them in their troubles, just because you read the Word of God, but never understood. It had no meaning, that's what you thought, of God's love and caring of your heart and soul. Perhaps you've seen someone lying on a bench, covered with old newspapers just to keep warm on a winter day. Did you offer your help because it was them, but never you? Could it be that God was always looking at you and saw you when you were in need? He didn't leave you stranded or forsake you or ignore you because of his amazing love. So when you see children and other aged persons needing help, look in the mirror and see if you are Jason to God. There's no excuse to stand your ground and pretend you read God's word like it was no meaning for you whatsoever. Everyone has moments in their life when they hope someone would help them when they were in need. But did you really help others because you always thought someone else would help instead? But don't forget, you're always Jason to God. So as we are focusing on the verses that people here are watching and listening to, we should be talking about how they can help, whether it be the Habitat of Humanity or whether it be some other organization. They've got that opportunity. And the opportunity is something that they cannot find, just like love. Love itself is not just something you can pull out of the air. And opportunity is the same. You cannot pull it out of the air to find an opportunity that helps others unless you see it and understand it and ask God. And he'll take you there. There's no harm there. But the love stays with you all the time because God himself is love. And that's why if you are one that believe that there is a God, you should have nothing else to worry about because there's nothing there to be concerned. He takes away the fear. So as we're looking at what we're doing here with this organization that's been here now for 30 years, what's the future, what's the past, and where are you now? And what will that be? Because it's always in the now.
The 904 now.
The 904 now. Yeah, that's where we are. It's the 904 now. That's where we are. Yeah, they're changing the daggum code here for area code.
No.
Yeah, well, they're keeping 904 now, but not adding anybody else to it anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's it. So it's going to be 904 plus. I forget what the other digits are. There's another digit. So yeah, they've changed it. It's just like they've done in Miami and everybody else. You change your business cards and you do all that stuff as well. So yeah. So what do you think? What do you think is in the now right now, besides just when you leave here today, what is the now for you today?
The now for us today is preparation for our growth and helping others, helping more.
Right. Yeah. Because you know you've got more that need it.
Right.
How do you sign up if you're a person that's looking for a home? I've gave the website that's there of the same one again. I'll read it one more time, but I won't spell it. HabitatStJohns.org. And so, what do they do? What do they do to be able to put themselves on the list? And how do you select which one's going first, which one's going second, all of that to kind of give them some idea of how it works?
So our program is unique in that you have to meet other qualifications than just being credit worthy. You have to be a resident of St. Johns County or work here for a year. You have to demonstrate some sort of need for housing, whether that where you live now is too expensive or you're couch surfing or you're living in a tiny, tiny home. You know, there's various there's ways to check that box. Ability to pay, you have to fall within a certain income guideline, 30 to 80% of the AMI, and those are on our website, what those numbers are, what those figures are. Willing to partner, you have to come out and you have to help build your house. You have to build your house and then the houses, your neighbors' houses. You have to do 200 sweat equity hours. And you have to be credit worthy in that you have to have a certain debt to income ratio. We really want you to succeed. So our program also sets our homeowners up for success by doing budget counseling and home ownership counseling. You know, not everybody has owned a home, so they don't know about home maintenance. They don't know how to do that. So finance, budget, home ownership counseling. So we're really trying to set our homeowners up for success. So to apply, if you can check all of those boxes, you go online and print off an application, or you can come to our office and just pick one up. It's a pretty lengthy mortgage application. You have to qualify for a USDA mortgage.
All right. So that's what the mortgage is based upon, is the Department of Agriculture.
Yes.
So it's funny. Most people don't realize that the Department of Agriculture does a lot of housing. And it's very interesting. It's normally in the rural areas, but it doesn't have to be. But it is, because one of my friends has been doing those for people age 55 and older in those areas, where you then get it at very low interest, but you can't remove it. You're there for until such time as they want you to be out of it, because they want you to maintain it for them in that process. So I don't know how you all are dealing with that side of the USD agriculture.
It's a true home ownership program. You can sell your house at any time. Now, there's liens upon it, of course. You know, with if you get down payment assistance, you may have to pay that back right away. When you will have to pay it back
part of the closing at the closing, yeah,
right. But you're not married to that house for the rest of your life if you so choose to sell it and move on.
Right, but how about the profits? Where does any of that go back to the Habitat?
So it depends. If you got a subsidy of any sort, then yes, when you sell it, that goes back. But if you did not, say you were in the higher income bracket, it's a true home ownership program. And just like your house or my house, if it appreciates, then they realize that appreciation. But I've been working for this affiliate for 6, almost 7 years. And in that time, I've only had 2 people sell their houses. It's because it's so affordable for them.
Yeah, where are you going to get another one?
They can't go anywhere else. Even if they have that equity, they can't go find another $800
it's all gone up.
or
It's all gone up.
or $1,500 house payment.
Yeah. No, it's all gone way up. And then the interest rate, of course, has gone even higher. So, you know, although having been in the 80s when interest rates were really high, this looks still like a very small amount of money.
Well, also, when you think about the location where they are, most of the houses are built right in West Augustine.
Right.
So, I mean, you're literally a walk or a bike ride from downtown St. Augustine. You got 95 not too far away. I mean, you're in a pretty ideal location. So where are you going? Why would you want to leave?
Right.
I don't see why you'd want to go.
Yeah,
you
brand
all
new home.
Do you all spend time with the West Augustine group as well? Are they involved in anything that you're doing?
We do. We partner with them, and we have a good relationship with the West Augustine CRA.
Yeah,
Yes.
because they do a great job in that area, and they continue to care about it as well, and to continue
It
to.
shows.
Yeah.
Have you seen that park they recently
I
put in?
have.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. No,
They
we've
do a
had.
lot of good work.
Yeah, we've had one of the people, actually a couple of the people that have been on that program as well already here in this show as well. So, okay, so I saw some of the things you just read in your website when I was going through it. So I saw those things that say it's not just the money, but it includes all of these things, including providing sweat equity because you want them to do it. And so is there an age differential involved?
No, we don't discriminate.
Well, do you have elderly people as well as those with children?
We do.
Okay.
Canopy Oaks is our most recent development. 18 homes in that neighborhood, and it's very diverse. We have families with children. We have seniors. We have a couple of veterans. We have somebody who works at the sheriff's office.
Good mixture.
Good mixture. Very diverse. A nurse. Yes.
And the
Yeah,
nice thing
that's
is it's a community now. So it's a community of 18 homes. They all know each other. They've helped build each other's homes.
Yeah.
And if it's a senior citizen who can't actually swing a hammer for whatever
Right.
reason, then they can volunteer at another nonprofit and get their hours that way. So,
Okay, well, so that's what I was wondering about. Was that too? Was how did you take care of? But they still are going to have to do 20 hours,
200 hours.
regardless of where they were.
Right.
So yeah, I kind of remember that in my lifetime when I got injured in Fort Benning, and I still didn't have to, but we signed up for the Domestic Peace Corps, which was called a different name at that time and stuff. So you can do things that will allow you to do the same things when you serve your government. So that's all good. Is there anything specific that we're missing here that I didn't even ask the right question for, because I don't know all these questions, but I did a few. But is there something that we need to be talking about? Because we got a few more minutes left to do, and then we'll talk about a final side of what the verses said, and we'll end up with that.
Melinda, there's probably 2 or 3 stories off the top of your head where you could talk about how someone who was before they had their home and now the situation they're in now, like Danielle, for example.
I have several.
Yeah, so
having done
I think
this
stories
for
help
over.
That show what
Well,
we can do.
maybe there's something that would help somebody that's listening
Yeah.
or watching, so that they in turn can understand how this made a difference in their lives.
Right.
Well, of course, the stability of being in a home as a child, in a stable home where you're not moving all the time, where you can do your homework and the lights are going to be on, you're going to have healthy food because there's actually money in the budget for that. That is huge. That's huge for me. I grew up in poverty, so being able to serve and help people with that is huge. But I had one lady come in. She called me and said, I'm interested in buying a lot that you own on King Street Extension. And it was a fairly narrow lot, and none of we weren't going to build on that lot. So I got it appraised, and she came in and she wanted to sign the paperwork. And after signing the paperwork, she said, by the way, I'm a Habitat homeowner and I already paid my home off. I worked 2 jobs, but I'm buying this for my daughter. So my daughter can build a house on here. And so that created that generational wealth. She first started by creating stability for her daughter. And then she paid off her home, and then she was able to help her daughter. And that's really what it's about. That's about helping families to grow, to build that wealth, to build stability. For me personally, I love that about what we do. But we have a lot of stories about just the stability of, we have one mom right now who she had been sleeping on the couch. She gave her daughter the 1 bedroom. They lived in like an 800 square foot house. And so now she's actually able to stretch out in a bed at night and before she goes to work the next day and not.
And she's the one who went back to school, right?
She went back to school and got her nursing
So she was
degree.
in the food industry, a waitress or a bartender or something, and she was able to go back to school because she had a mortgage she could afford to pay without killing herself working 80 hours a week, and she was able to go back to school and get her nursing degree, and now she's a nurse. So,
Well, and that really helps the community,
right.
because we have needs for nurses. We have
We sure
needs
do.
for these. And here are people that if they were just given the opportunity, would have that opportunity, which is why I was saying earlier that it's very similar to love in that context. Not that it's the same, but in the context that when the opportunity comes, you have an opportunity to do something that's going to change the world, change the world. And you're that person doing that one thing that makes it a different part of this community.
Right.
Yeah, and coming out and hammering nails and putting up walls really does change the world for somebody.
That's right.
A
That's right.
family, an individual. And every one of the people that lives in those homes in Canopy Oaks has a story, why they needed our help and how this changed their life.
Yeah. And that's really where God leads us,
Yes.
is to do that. And I think that's why when we looked at the end of the verse, that it really made that point clear when he says, religion that our God, our Father, accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. So how better can you do that than having a place where people can be together? If they've been working together to develop the house with others that have already done the same, now they have a community that knows each other. I mean, many times we don't have a clue who our neighbors are.
Right.
And so not only do you know who they are, they helped you build your house.
Right.
And so those are things that I think not only with the consistency, but also with the way that community works together. And I think that's how this works as well. So we appreciate very much your being here. And Tom, good to see you again.
Good seeing you.
And I hope, Melinda, that we have another opportunity at some other time to be focused with this again.
I do as well. Thank you for having us. Rick.
Thank you so much. And to you all, we ask that you let the light shine before men, so not that they may say your good deeds, but to also praise your Father in heaven. So have a blessed week, and we'll look forward to seeing you, I hope, or hearing our podcast on Sunday Conversations next week. But starting on Sunday at 1:00, you'll hear this one. All right. Have a blessed day and a blessed week.